ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, fight fans from all around the world. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for Fight Night Fortunes with good friend and colleague, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro. UFC Las Vegas 104 Fight Night, the headliner, Vettori versus Dolidze rematch. As I listen to Lou's Sneak Peek podcast, I think this one's going to go the distance. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about that. I got a boatload to talk about last weekend's fights, and I have to give credit, obviously, where credit is always due. Lou, I think you were spot on with how they managed Pereira, and once he got into that ring with Ankalaev, that's not the Pereira I knew, but we'll get into that. So first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith over at Facebook. Head back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Place an order today. You could be grilling as early as Monday. Last but never least, Viva Tequila Seltzer. 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. So without further ado, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro.
Well, what is it? It's Thursday afternoon, and that means ECSI, baby, where we break down a few fights. We had a great week last week. I know you want to talk about a little. Sounds like you didn't take the Ankalaev advice, but we do this to provide information so people can make their own decisions up. It was a fight that we thought would go kind of how it did, eh?
I did take the Ankalaev advice.
Oh, you did? Good for you then.
And what really stuck out to me again is I trust and respect the opening number. And then when Ankalaev opened up minus 200, there's only one way that number could go. Of course, the Pereira money's going to come running in like it did. I think he closed minus 125. Before we get to that fight, Ruffy, the spinning wheel kick was just like OMG. That's number one. Lemos domination. That was number 2. Van is going to be something. This kid is special, I think. I like what I've seen from the kid so far. I can see him moving up the ranks. And then, of course, Mr. Gagey. And again, his opponent, short notice, I applauded him. That was a great fight there. So from those 4 standpoints, give us what you saw.
Lemos awarded the young gal the PhD in MMA. That one we discussed. Ruffy, that whole team fights like that. Those guys, they're all mad. They're all madly talented, and they all train together. that's a team that the Fighting Nerds you got to watch out for. But again, Bobby Green, 37, been in wars. There's a reason that was minus 500. Gaethje Fiziev talking about going to 45. He needs to. He's undersized against those bigger 55ers. And then I don't know what your other point was.
Are you impressed with Van?
Van, yes. Van must learn how to grapple. And that's what this Sura tried to do. He just wasn't experienced enough to be able to do it. I think with Van, as long as he's in with strikers, I'm on him. And if he faces some kind of a cross-eyed Russian grappler, I'll have to go again him. Meanwhile, Tsura he has unusual size for that division. He was too green for Van. He learned a great lesson. That dude's a dude on the upward swing, and I'm a buyer on him. I'll be watching him close.
All right, so we get to the main event. And again, I am not the expert, but I am learning. We've been doing shows now, I think, since June, July, whenever it was. I am learning so much fight by fight. It's nice to see these guys a second and third time. It's even better when I can start really pronouncing these names, Lou. But I really, really went to school because I'm a big Alex Pereira fan. And what I saw leading up to that fight, but what you said to me really stuck here. You were like, they've been keeping him away from someone like Ankalaev, someone that can wrestle, someone that can take you down. And I know this, if you had Ankalaev on your bingo card, 0 for 12 on takedowns, that would have went off at plus 10,000 and still winning the fight. But where I'm going here, Lou, is this. I watched Pereira march in like he does, which is fabulous. He got into that ring, and I don't want to say it was a deer in headlight, and everyone's screaming on social media, he got robbed. Now, I'm not a score guy. There was no way in holy hell I thought Ankalaev lost that fight. But what's really burning me right now is there's an automatic rematch, or they've already said there's a rematch, and Pereira came in and saying, he was like the tactician there, feeling him out for 5 rounds, 25 minutes, to know what he's going to be able to do in the next fight.
This is the UFC. They're owned by an entertainment company. The loss to Ankalaev was not in their plans. They had immediate plans to jettison Pereira into other endeavors within the organization and in its upcoming liaison with boxing. That loss to Ankalaev put their plans on hold, and so now it is predictable, it's expected that there'll be an immediate rematch because the UFC can market that, set up a big rematch, and make Ankalaev, who has a style that isn't like Pereira's, knockout and ominous. He's more a grinder and durable and never quit, but come at you 20. He's a Dagestani wrestler. And so that sells differently than what this monster from South America was selling. So now we get the rematch, and we'll get to handicap it again. I can tell you in the rematch, I think what you'll see different is a different Pereira. We saw a Pereira trying to defend the belt for the 4th time after fighting 3 times in 8 months. That's too much activity. We talked about that here on the show. And not only that, he was making trips in front of every camera and going to every UFC card. Was he training while he was doing it? Sure he was. But he wasn't training like Ankalaev was in a sweatshop up to his eyebrows and guys trying to kill him. It was totally different. This was again, we're on the other side of it. Easy to say, oh, how easy it was. Well, it wasn't easy. That said, it's hard to go against a guy in Pereira you believe in, but the circumstances, it was a perfect spot to take Ankalaev, and we talked about that a week ago. Now, when the next fight comes up, I think a lot of that changes. What's the number going to be? So there's fascinating stuff coming up. I would expect that fight to be, maybe International Fight Week, July would be as fast as it could be, more like August, September. But I think they'll make Ankalaev fight him again to make sure that they got to put up with him as champion, make him earn it, and give Pereira another opportunity to fight when he's not so drained. He was sapped. He had nothing. You could see it. There was no performance there. We've seen this in other fighters that have tried to tackle that much activity in an elite level, fight after fight after fight. It's very, very almost impossible to sustain.
Now, Yuri fought Pereira twice. He lost. He finally goes to the fight someone else and wins in a must-win situation. I say Yuri, Alex Pereira is his kryptonite. There's no way we can say, we're going to see a different Pereira. We're going to see a lot sharper, a lot hungrier. Am I foolish to say that Ankalaev actually could be Pereira's kryptonite?
Well, stylistically, I've been taught that world-class wrestling grappling is kryptonite to BJJ, and that's what we have here. I mean, he is a black belt in BJJ. Now, he's a kickboxer, and he's taken this organization by storm. But what I walk away with after that fight is that Pereira isn't the heavy, oversized, dominating physical beast at 205 that he was showing against these other fighters. Ankalaev made him look not strong. Ankalaev was the stronger guy, the thicker guy moving forward, making Pereira look not strong. So any thought of Pereira going from 05 to heavyweight has to be now laughed at because he's not strong enough to do it. He's barely strong enough to compete here. So in the second fight, let's see what the number is. Let's see when it is. Let's find out the circumstances leading up to it. But if Ankalaev wins again, then you'll have your answer.
Yeah, and it will be interesting. They saw the onslaught of Pereira money. It's like the NFL, I like to say. Well, if Dallas is playing San Francisco, they have enough backlog every week. We know what we're going to get in on Dallas. It doesn't matter who they're playing in San Francisco. So it'll be interesting to see where they open up that number, because there's a lot of that are upset because they thought Pereira won. So I mean, if they opened up Pereira as a short favorite, it would be interesting to see which way that would go.
That to me, that wasn't that close a fight. I would ask the people that thought Pereira won to rewatch the fight, and maybe they'll, after their either if they didn't have a bet, give it a week or two and watch it again. And if you did have a bet or two, wait a couple weeks and watch again. I think I always learn something the second time I watch.
4 fights we're going to break down. UFC Fight Night Las Vegas 104, as you like to say on your Sneak Tea podcast, which I love every Monday. Go catch it at gamblou.com. 4 big boy fights, 14 fights in all in the Las Vegas Apex. Not many fans. Small 25-foot octagon. First fight you want to break down, Nunes and is it Cachoeira?
Nunes and Cachoeira. And you know what? Listen to Jeff intro me now. The guy's like a polished UFC fan. We've made a conversion, and I'm so tickled about it. I know you had a thirst for it when we started doing this, and you're doing fine. Listen, there is no hurry. You start with the fights you like or the fighters you like, and eventually you can read a market and such. You just got to understand, this market is not the same kind of market as an NFL market. You're talking about different scales and efficiencies here. So, yeah, I do want to talk about fights. There's 2 women's fights that we're talking about here today, and the only reason we're talking about them is because I think they're oh so compelling. And this first one is the one that you point out. And these are big women. These are bantamweights. So they're 135, 136 will be the limit. And you have two Brazilians that are on the cusp of being in the UFC. They've lost a few fights. They're very, very limited in what they can do. And they're fighting each other for probably the loser gets cut, and the winner could easily get cut too, but the winner might stay around. And the fascinating thing is that while they're both power strikers, they can grapple, choose not to. The physiques are so diametrically different. Cachoeira is a long string bean of a gal, and she's going to have knee distance, and she's going to be able to kick and knee and really try and get off on power leverage shots on Nunes, who is short. She's going to be 6 inches the shorter gal, giving up a huge amount of spacing and reach advantage. So she's going to, just like every fight, because she's 5'2", she's way shorter than her competitor always. So she's going to have to rush to get inside, pound that body, and get that chin. And so the stylistic matchup between these two going to be just unbelievable. Nunes opens 2.25. Now I'm looking at her minus 185-ish or so. I think the way I want to do this is that they're both really not UFC caliber fighters. And they both have great heart and grit, but I lean to Nunes here. I think maybe in the third round when they slow a little bit, she can get there. And if I took Nunes, I'd have to also maybe take a little bit of a flavoring on her via inside the distance or a KO, because I think she could catch her. She throws unbelievable roundhouse left hooks, and that's about all she has. That's why she's on the cusp of the UFC. But you don't want to miss this fight. It's buried in the undercard. I had to highlight it because it's going to be great. Maybe use Nunes in a parlay piece. Don't do it now. Wait till fight time. Let's see if this thing continues to go down like it's been going.
Yeah, currently at print here, Nunes minus 185, the underdog plus 154, over 2.5 rounds, right around minus 188, Lou.
And listen, and we always talk about these ladies' fights, right? And 2.5 rounds, they're always 280, 350, 4.25. What's this one? Oh, 180. I'm just saying.
No pillow fight here, right, Lou?
Over 2.5 rounds, minus 600. This is the epitome of a pillow fight.
Luciano versus Hughes. Luciano minus 230. Hughes plus 190. Over under 2.5 rounds, minus 600, sir.
So Luciano's a Brazilian, but she has an Italian name. You can tell Jeff from the East Coast has no problem pronouncing the Italian Luciano without it rolls right off his tongue like he's an old pro, and Hughes is easy. So this is going to be an interesting clash of styles. Luciano is young and pretty, athletic, and long and tall, and she's primarily a striker. And just one fight in the UFC. She's going to take on this gal Hughes that's a little bulldog that's had about 6 fights in the UFC. So experience, tremendous amount of experience goes to Hughes. Hughes is smaller, not as long, and if Hughes plays a distance and stands up with young Luciano, Hughes will get cut to ribbons. That's not her game. She's a little bulldog wrestler. Hughes is going to have to find a way to rush in, clasp on, press to the fence, onto the floor. And if we see that kind of fight or some takedown success from Hughes early, then that's exactly what you need to see. Hughes opens as an underdog of ridiculous proportion. Hughes comes plus 275. I'm looking at her now at DraftKings. She's plus 195. On Monday, I referenced this on the Sneak Peek podcast that we had that Gamb Lou clients had already moved on her. We moved on her at like 235. So this number is coming down on Hughes as the market's starting to look at these fights and realize that her wrestling and toughness and durability are going to be an asset to her. I would say that I've already released Hughes, so surely I'm willing to release her now. She's still close to 2-1 as an underdog, and she's going to give you a fight. And you look at the total, 2.5 over -600, probably go into a decision, maybe even play her a little bit by decision and get better odds than 2-1.
I like where your eyes are there for sure, Lou. Third fight. All right, now you're gonna really test me here. Zaleski dos Santos versus. I gotta pass on this one.
There you go. So Elizio Zaleski dos Santos, Brazilian, 38, Cachoeira, which is a wild, flamboyant matrix kind of striking. It's like what you saw, that heel kick that Ruffy launched on Green last week was a Cachoeira move. That's the kind of fighting you get, and that's what this Elizio Zaleski is. He's short, he's compact, he's tough, he's durable. He's pretty durable. The chin is maybe what has failed him before, and he's in a fight again. Older guys in the UFC pitted against each other. Loser here could easily be sent packing. CHILLLL Njokuani, an African man that is living and trains in Dallas, Texas. And CHILLLL fought a lot at 185, had early lack of success, either because of fortitude, lack of training, both. He had an uneven early part of his career. In the last 4 or 5 fights since he's moved to 170, he's found some success. He's found conditioning, and I think, they say that, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Well, he's getting less fatigue. He's eating better. He's taking care of it. He's also a much more mature man at 36 years old, but he is the younger man. He's 4 inches taller. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage in what looks to be a stand-up kind of a fight. His check is that he slows as the fight goes on. I think I've got myself convinced to consider him. However, because he's fought a lot at 85 and he's going to have to make 70 for this fight, I got to wait and watch the weigh-ins to see how he looks. If he comes out in 10 minutes and weighs 171 and is all business, he's a bet at the dog price that he is at plus 155, 170 that you're seeing there. However, I can't make the call until I see the weigh-ins, which will be tomorrow morning. If he comes in 10 minutes before the end of weigh-ins and misses weight and has fought the cut so much that now he's got to fight Dos Santos too, then this fight is off. But as it stands to reason right now, if things go like I would hope they would do, Njokuani would be a release at plus money. But again, I got to wait till weigh-ins. And I've done that a lot. And the reason I do it is because it's saved me a ton.
So ZD right now plus 170, Dos Santos minus 205. The over 2.5 rounds at minus 110. So there's a little part of them that aren't sure that if it gets obviously to the mid to late third round, correct?
Yeah, it was good of you to mention that total, Jeff, because that total's been 1.5 all week, just moved to 2.5. So they've been going over. So that's an interesting sign. I think the longer it goes, I like CHILLLL here if he weighs in and looks fit. I do.
All right. Well, we'll see the weigh-ins tomorrow, of course. There, the main event: Vettori versus Dolidze. Vettori minus 148. Dolidze plus 124. Over 4.5 rounds. Minus 220. A rematch from, was it 23, Lou?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dolidze is a Russian baker. His family's in the bakery business. And the guy is just like a mild-mannered dude during the day, but a UFC fighter at night. And he pivots between 2 weight divisions, 205 and 185. This is a fight at 185. These guys fought 2 years ago, 3-round decision for Vettori, and it was a 3-round earned decision by Vettori. No problem here or with the decision for me. Dolidze claims he won it. He wants the fight back. He's surprised, as is Vettori, that they put them together again, but they do. Vettori hasn't fought for 2 years himself, and his last fight was against Jared Cannonier. He got pieced up pretty good, and he hurt his shoulder. Then he hurt his shoulder in rehab, had to have surgery on it. So this is his first fight back, the first time fighting in a couple of years. At the end of the day, I think that the grappling of Dolidze, he's going to want to get his hands on Vettori and try and take him down. Vettori's going to do all he can to move within a smaller cage, keep Dolidze on the outside and keep this stand up and try and pound on him from the stand up position and fight him boxing style or striking with elbows and knees. So I don't know that enough has transpired over the last 2 years to change what happened in the first fight, which was a 3-round Vettori decision. I think the fact that Dolidze, this is his 3rd fight in a year now, or 4th, this will be his 4th fight in like 14 months. That's a lot of activity, and he likes it. He's rushing it because he's 36, but I don't like that formula. Meanwhile, Vettori going to be firing fresh. He's dying to get back, hasn't had a fight in 2 years. He was a mad, crazy Italian to begin with. So in fighter interviews, he wasn't uptight and clenched fist and overly aggressive and smug like he can be. Rather, he was relaxed and seems to have matured. This time off may have been good for him. So I'm going a long way in saying that Vettori, a fighter that opened up at minus 200, can now be got at minus 148. I don't know that you got to play any more games with this thing. I would take it now. I like Vettori at the minus 148. If you want to wait and see if it goes down lower, okay. I just think Vettori is an elite top 6 middleweight. And I believe Dolidze is not an elite top 6 middleweight.
And the over-under currently right now, Lou, 4.5 rounds, minus 220, kind of leaning towards this could go to the cards.
Kind of leaning, yeah, that's what I would say. I'd say watch the co-main event, the Cachoeira, Zaleski, Dos Santos, and Njokuani, because you're going to get fireworks in that one. This one here, you're going to fall asleep in your suit.
Scroll has been going the whole time. Next week, London UFC UFC Edwards versus who?
Jack Della Maddalena. Oh no, excuse me. Edwards versus Brady, Philadelphia grappler wrestler. Those fights have changed around. And it's going to be London, and London will be good. London calling, baby. That'll be a fun fight card. I love when the UFC just pounds us one after another. So keep it coming. Let's roll. We get a break the 3rd week of April. So until then, bring it, baby. Let's go. And you guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you check out our sponsors. Those steaks and seafoods look killer from that Atlanta company. And I'm sure the other products are good too. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, and as we always wrap up, everyone knows to find you on Twitter at Gamb Lou. Mondays, your Sneak Teep podcast. Tomorrow, after the weigh-ins, your Bout Business podcast. But as we always wrap up this segment, tell them where they can find the website and, of course, the charity that you work with.
Right as these goofy trash guys come in my neighborhood, they're picking up the trash and making all this noise. I'm sorry. So one-stop point of contact for me, gamblou.com. Basically, I try and sell my investment advice for sporting events, and I charge it on a few of the sports that I work. If that's not your style, I get it. But I work hard. I'm fair. All my results are transparent. I carry results, and I have results for those that want to review, and they're right on the website as well. But mostly, my website also routes a portion of all of our proceeds to the San Xavier mission in Tucson, Arizona, that's doing great work. It's the oldest mission in the country, founded in the late 1600s. So That's right on the Gamb Lou webpage. You don't have to invest with me. You can go to that tab, tap it, and donate directly to the mission if you like. Either way, how about that? In the meantime, we're going to have a great week of fights this week. You guys enjoy your basketball. Next week, we'll be fighting again.
Go check out Gamb Lou Finocchiaro, of course, on Twitter. And after the weigh-ins, his Bout Business podcast will be released there as well. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., the NCAA Insiders talking some college baseball. Week 5, Lou, it's conference time, so this is when the rubber hits the road.
It is. It's getting good. Time marches on, and it's great. We're in spring. We're going to actually see Southern teams play Northern teams, and we're going to get into it now.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Lou Finocchiaro at Gamb Lou. We wish everyone a blessed day. Enjoy the madness. Let's cash some tickets in the octagon, and we will see you soon.